Hey you guys, what's up? I'm Ashley from heavenathome.org, and this is the Heaven at Home podcast, where my goal is to encourage you in your personal growth journey while being open, honest, and owning my story. We have faith-based conversations and tackle a bunch of different tough topics. Check out the description to follow me and learn more. Remember, you are fully known and deeply loved. Let's do this. Hey you guys, what's up? So we're just going to be casually chatting today. I feel like the last episode that I put out there was very lengthy and very detailed and very informational. So I kind of just want to take this one to chill, catch up, maybe grab a coffee or something. We're just chillaxing over here for now. And I don't know, just kind of wanted to share some of my personal reflections for the year now that we're kind of getting into the fall season. But jumping into August has felt like a really intense time for me. Intense, stressful, overwhelming. And I was sending a voice memo out to a friend in the last couple days, and the way that I kind of described my feelings in this season are in the way that, as a woman, I'm kind of familiar with what this is like, so I'm sorry if you're a guy listening, but in the way that a woman gets ready to give birth and you kind of deal with those like labor pains, and they kind of signal that, something is going to happen, you have to get ready. I've been having that sense of urgency, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. There's been a lot of things that have been heavy on my heart in general. But the cool thing is that this year, which I feel like I remember sharing this at some point, but this year I feel like my eyes were opened. I feel like I got my vision back. And I know I've shared this before, but the way that uncertainty and heartbreak kind of stole my vision a while ago, to the point where all I could focus on at that time was just, one day at a time, one moment at a time, one step at a time. Like all my focus was being put into just being present. It was put into just making it, surviving. It forced me to focus in a lot. It forced me to focus on my thought patterns, my language, my emotions, my healing, the posture of my heart. I turned to God so often back then because I needed to. It was like the only way for me to survive. My faith was that for me. And this year, I've been feeling a lot happening spiritually for me, which I don't think I'm used to talking through a lot on here. But this year, like having that feeling of, my eyes being open and having my vision back, I feel like I can see again. I feel like I'm dreaming with God a lot more. I feel a sense of freedom and peace and autonomy that I haven't felt in a really long time. And I also have this, I almost feel like a healthy jealousy from God over me in this season. Like like the theme in my heart in my prayer time is like, I'm his and he's mine. I'm his daughter, he's my father. I'm his beloved, he's my beloved. I'm his servant, he's my master, he's my Lord. Before I'm anyone else's, I'm his. Like that's kind of been like the theme in my prayer time. And so along with, this vision I have that I feel like has been redeemed or restored in some ways, I feel like I also have stronger convictions and the demand for accountability, like with my own character and my own personal growth, I feel like that increased also. And as I'm like looking back on maybe my life in general, but especially this year, I realized that a lot of things about my life were really competing with God. My love for people, my insecurity, my fear, my doubt, my desire to be liked, my desire to preserve my dignity, my reputation. I kind of look back on the months of this year and I can remember like specific moments where I felt a nudge like, you're a patient person, but you need to be more patient in this area. You're secure in this space, but you're insecure in these dynamics. You're obedient here, but you're not obedient here. And you're confident here, but not confident there. And you demonstrate gentleness when you feel like this, and you start getting defensive when you feel like that. I've even been getting convicted about my attitude in my car when I'm driving. I don't consider it road rage, personally, but I'm a lot snappier when I'm driving than I am like when I'm actually interacting with people. So I've even been feeling like convicted about that. Like when I tell you increased conviction, I really genuinely, seriously mean it. And so ultimately, like, I realized there's still some serious trauma that I have to work through. And I realized that my trauma responses really only happen with my genuine and deeper relationships. Like, I can be offended by an acquaintance or, like something come up, there can be a conflict and something may have been said that hurt me, okay, whatever. But when it comes to the people that I have come to love the most, that's when my problems really start coming up. And I realized I had to work through some of that, because I consider like the relationships I'm in right now to be healthier. And a huge part of me quickly regresses when I feel like a relationship is at stake, when I feel like a relationship can end. And I know that's because of the stuff that I went through with my divorce. Like there was many years of that feeling of instability, insecurity. So things that kind of stir up that feeling with people I've really closely bonded with, it happens very quickly. So anyway, so I realized I still need to heal in that regard. And at this point in my life, like at this point in my healing journey, even though there's a demand for it, I also feel more empowered to grow. Like, I feel to be like a healthier and more stable person. I feel like that's actually possible for me. I feel like I can actually make that goal achievable. And one of the things that surprised me, which really, really shouldn't surprise me, I guess, but I realized that I really genuinely care about following God. And the thing is, I'm a Christian, okay, that's my lifestyle. I'm not perfect or anything, but the extent to which that is a burden for me is surprising, to a point where, like, if there are things I value that are somehow getting in the way of what I feel like following God would look like, it bothers me. It stresses me. It hinders me. It's so weird. So yeah, those things that are competing for my allegiance, I've been really, really wanting to put those things in place within my heart. and I need like first things to be first. So when I was hurting and broken and all that, when I was in that really tough season of my life, I did my best to not isolate. I did my best to be, like intentional about being in community, connecting with others, voicing my inner world, reminding myself that I'm not alone by reaching out to people. And it took a lot of work. It took a lot of conscious effort to feel like I could open up, because that whole thing does not really come natural to me. Like, that's not my default. That's like a thing I mentally have to work on. And this year, there's something about, like this point in my healing where trying to continue to do that, trying to continue to foster and steward that whole thing has ironically led me to feel more isolated. Like, I put words to my thoughts and, they're my honest thoughts and people are offended, or I share things that I really care about or I really worry about, or, I share my raw emotion and people are frustrated or annoyed. And these are my people we're talking about, like people I consider family, right? So I try to even prevent offense or conflict, and somehow it ends up happening anyway. Like, it's been a lot of that throughout the year with different people. And there's nothing about me fundamentally that has changed. I have, the people are the same. I have the same love for them. I have the same desire for connection. I have the same desire to honor and serve and be there as best I can. I have the same way of communicating. I have the same values. I have the same level of agreeableness. So that's been like a really tender spot to be in. And loneliness, like for me as a person, really only ever happens when I've, like gone out of my way and tried to connect with someone and something failed. Like, instead there's like a huge disconnect. I don't really get lonely alone, if that makes sense. I'm an introvert, so I'm kind of okay with it. Maybe I'll get bored. But that sense of loneliness is really only stirred up under like certain circumstances. And so anyway, the one thing that's felt like a consistent relationship when it comes to intimacy in my relationships has been the relationship I have with Jesus. And I kind of wanted to dive into that. I have a lot on my plate, like just as a woman, as a mom, as a friend, as a daughter, or like a daughter figure. I've been handling a lot of mental, emotional loads, and the things that I care for tend to be rare, and the extent to which I care about those things tends to be rare also. So on the off chance that people can get why I care about something, they might not understand why I care so much, for example. It's hard. I feel like I'm a hard person to relate to because I'm such an idealist and my values are intense. And so to be very like matter of fact, straightforward, like this year has been disappointing, lonely, isolating, in that I'm trying to let people into my world and it kind of backfires on me. This year has created like new fears, new doubts, new offenses, new struggles. And I kind of laugh to myself because forgiveness doesn't feel like it needs to be like deep work for me this year. Like, there were years where it was very, very deep, thorough work. And this year just kind of feels like tedious. Like, like tiny, manageable things that I can acknowledge, address with the person, pray to God about, humble myself about, think about, how I can do better next time, how I can avoid issues next time. Like, that's just kind of like how I am. So I'm not being dramatic with this, okay? Like, catch my tone, okay? Very neutral over here. But this year I've had anxiety attacks where I'm waking up from my sleep shaking, shooting up out of bed, like thinking about, okay, I'm running out of time to solve this problem. Like, I have 48 hours, I have 24 hours, I have 12 hours, I have to fix this. I've prayed and cried over things that weigh on my heart. And the crazy thing is, all those things considered, I genuinely feel okay. And I feel like I can say that because I have a security in God that is genuine. So I'm not minimizing my need for people, because we need people. Like, we need people to sharpen us. We need people to love us, to challenge us, to support us. So I'm not saying that's not needed. And I'm also not saying that like, I don't have issues, or like that there are things about my mental emotional health that's not in need of work. Okay, so don't misconstrue that either. But the gift of like having gone through the last 5 years of my life, which I often jokingly call like my quarter life crisis, losing everything I loved in some form or fashion, the gift I have after all of that is this really secure intimacy with God. The portion I have is God. So when I look back on this year and I think about the moments where I feel alone, I know that I have him. When, I go to people, I talk and it doesn't work out, and so I feel like I have no one to talk to, I talk to him. And like all the time, I talk to him often. When no one understands me, like he understands me. When I have no one involved in my life enough to challenge me, to convict me, to hold me accountable in healthy ways, he is that person for me. He parents me, he disciplines me, he corrects me. And when I'm too hard on myself, he encourages me also. And there have been times where I'm even like driving in my car sometimes. I'm like, God, like, thank you, because I don't know how you did it over the years of my life. I don't know if I can point to a specific moment or not, but thank you for the revelation of your love. Like, thank you, because I know that you love me. Like, I know that you're present. I know that you're paying attention to me. That is so precious and so beautiful. And so God has become so beyond real to me, like to a point where I don't project people's failures or weaknesses or shortcomings or character flaws onto him. That, in the Christian community, is a huge gift. In a world full of people who are aspiring to be like him, who are doing their best to follow him, to love him, to reflect him, being able to separate the integrity of who God is from his people's kind of huge gift for me. That's a thing that can never be taken away. It can never be stolen. He just is who he is, and he is who he is to me. The amount of times that I've reflected back this year and said, like, okay, this is how God is with me. This is what God does for me. This is how he handles this. This is how we communicate. This is how we go back and forth. This is how God shows up for me when I need him. This is how I hear him. This is how I talk to him. Like, there is a solid relationship dynamic. And, like, to go even deeper, like, when I think I have no husband, he's my husband. When I think I have no friend, he's my friend. When everyone is over me, like, they don't want to hear it anymore, he cares to hear me. He cares to address old news. He cares to tend to old wounds if he has to. Even when I'm not asking, even when I haven't dared to ask, he kind of goes out of his way to do that for me. That means a lot. When I have no one to speak up for me, when I have no one to defend me or affirm me, I've seen him do that in the past. Like, that's who he is to me. I'm like, Lord, please, please, please do it again. But what's cool, even like on that line, is like, man, like, this is who you are and who you've always been to me. So I thank you for that. But on the off chance that you choose to exercise your own judgment here and show up for me in a new way, like, give me the maturity to handle that. That's kind of been like a new prayer, is being okay with God showing up in different ways, in new ways, and also God kind of challenging me to be a big girl. But anyway, so I've been reading the Bible. Obviously, I've been doing that Bible in a year reading plan. Loving that. I recently discovered the Good News Translation. If you haven't read it, I encourage you to read that version. I like it better than the Message because it's a little bit more clear cut. It's easy to understand. And my physical Bible is a Christian Standard Bible. I like that one also. But the GNT, I feel like it puts the verses into everyday language that applies to my life. So like, there's like these verses in Psalms that repeat. They're like, his love endures forever, right? The GNT version is like, his love is constant. Or I can't come up with too many off the top of my head, but get into it. I promise you won't regret it. Thank me later. Okay. So anyway, so I've been doing the Bible in a year plan, and I remember coming across these passages in Deuteronomy where the tribes are dividing the territory. So, Reuben, Judah, Dan, Zebulun, Benjamin, Issachar, like, okay, you get this land, you get that land, from here to here, there to there. And it goes in pretty thorough detail, like locations and rivers and all these things, and just very thorough information. You're reading for a while. But the Levites, they don't get anything. Numbers 19:20 says, okay, the Lord said to Aaron, you will not receive any property that can be inherited, and no part of the land of Israel will be assigned to you. I, the Lord, am all you need. And, that theme comes up a couple times, I think, in Deuteronomy and in Joshua, where it's like, okay, this tribe gets this and this and this and this and that land, and, from here to there. And the Levites, you don't get anything. You don't get anything. Like, I am the Lord. I am your inheritance. You have no other inheritance apart from me. Like, it's like language like that, like very direct. And it's still the most perplexing thing to me. Like, even moving forward, when I think of the most unimaginably painful situations I might face or others might face, in those moments when you have nothing, you have no one, there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go. If I find myself there, I want to know that I have him. And, even when I think back on those passages, like, there's still a part of me that is in awe or wonder. Like, to me, there's like a mystery there that I can't fully or logically comprehend or explain it. But that's a treasure to me. Like, really, like, I'm still human. I still have my things that I have to work through. I still have things that need to be managed, but it's been the most unique and the most powerful lesson of my life, that everything I have can be taken away. Everything I love, everyone I love, every hope I have can be stripped back. And at the end of the day, if I have God, then I have what I need. And I have the one thing that makes everything else more meaningful and more beautiful and more precious. And so I just wanted to share that today, because if I could go back, I think we're all sometimes faced with that question, like, would you do it again? Would you take the same steps you took? And to me, I'd say yes. The security I have in God, after having gone through everything I went through, it is the thing I hold on to every day. And, I share this, to be transparent, to be relatable, to let people in on the way that I think and the way that I process stuff, because my goal with this whole thing is to encourage you guys and give you guys practical growth tips, but also I feel like being let in on the vulnerable things lets you know that I am a human being. The things that you think, I think, the things that you struggle with, I struggle with. And I want this to encourage you or inspire you. I want you to listen to this and be like, I want that kind of relationship with God. I want that kind of intimacy with God. I want to be able to see God in this light, in this way. I want to see how he shows up for me. I want to learn how I hear him. And, I want to talk to him more comfortably, That's kind of my goal with this whole thing. And then I also just wanted to encourage the person that feels alone or feels like they have nothing. I can promise you God is present. God is attentive. God cares for you. He loves you. And you're not alone. And if there's, any way that I can pray for you, if you guys have a prayer request or anything like that, please feel more than welcome to reach out to me and let me know. I'd be happy to partner with you in prayer. But God is accessible, you guys. God is accessible. You can reach him. He can reach you. Don't give up. Please do not give up. But yeah, love you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you guys so much for listening. Feel free to DM me to send me your feedback. Check out the description below to follow me on social media. This podcast is listener supported. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember, you are fully known and deeply loved. I'll see you in the next one.